All right, we had some technical difficulties with our live feed, so we went ahead and we're going to go ahead and record this. My guest today is Sandi Griffin. That was a good rehearsal.
That was a great rehearsal.
Did. Professional fitness coach and military fitness specialist, accomplished IFBB, and that's the International Federation of Bodybuilding. International Women's Physique Athlete, Southern Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce 2024 Don Brown Entrepreneur Award nominee, Pikes Peak Suicide Prevention Partnership 2025, It Starts With Me, quote unquote, Champion Award winner. So, all right, let's start off where we left off. So you were telling us about your husband and you're moving to Germany with 3 kids. You want to start over from the beginning for us?
Yeah, no, Texas native. I was born in Texas, but raised in Washington State, so don't have the accent. But no, my husband and I met. We were actually living he was in Altus, Oklahoma, and I was in Seattle, and went down to visit family, and that's how we met. But he was active duty Air Force, and we about a year after we met, got married and started our family. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to 2002, we had assignment to Germany. Super exciting because it was our dream to travel and have our kids experience other cultures and whatnot. Yeah. And during my time there, what started my whole fitness journey was the first year there was really rough because of just integrating into a new culture. Not understanding the language and all of that, kind of feeling isolated as a stay-at-home mom with 3 small children. And so I let my health deteriorate and got to the point where I was on the fast track to a stroke or a heart attack. I thought I was going to die.
Oh, no.
And I was kind of that come to Jesus moment where you're like, I do not want to leave my kids without a mom. Yeah. So that was my rock bottom and turning point. And I kind of just started off real slow. And my husband ended up talking me into a bodybuilding show, and that kind of started that whole piece of it. But as a trainer, what was really cool is sometimes we don't recognize the inspiration we are to others through our actions, even though we're just doing it for ourselves and we're kind of in this bubble. Okay. Because most people that are unhealthy tend to be a little self-conscious, so we're not looking outside of just what we're working on.
Gotcha.
But through my transformation, people started asking me for help. And I thought, well, let me give this a shot. So became a personal trainer. And that's kind of how that all got started. I tell everybody I became a trainer by accident. Right. Because that was never my intent to do this as a career. Oh, wow. And working at Longview Regional Medical Center, I had the opportunity working with all kinds of clients. I had doctors, I had active duty, I had PT failures, I had family members, I had everybody. Mm-hmm. But some of the physicians that I was working with, I developed a really great relationship and reputation with them. And they started a whole person health program that was initially geared for our special forces guys that were coming in from downrange. They understood that just because an injury is healed, the stitches come out, the bones aren't broken, that person probably isn't quite ready to return to duty. Gotcha. And they also understood that it's not just the physical health, but it's the emotional piece too. Yeah. So they put together a really great program that focused on mobility and sleep and hydration and TBI clinic, mental health, and then all the other stuff, ortho, PT, chronic pain management. But I was invited to be part of that team and to be the strength and conditioning coach at the end of the program.
Awesome.
So that really opened my eyes up to just whole person health and how important that is. It's not just doing some squats and eating a salad every once in a while. Right. There's so much more to getting a person truly healthy and getting them 100% ready to return to duty or return to work or return to whatever their life looked like before.
Gotcha.
And that was just a really great experience for me.
That sounds really interesting. Now, when you're in Germany and you had to move with your 3 children, are they grown now?
Yep.
Yeah. Did they enjoy Germany?
They did. All 3 of them gone back to visit, and my oldest is actually stationed there with her husband.
Oh, speak German?
A little.
And then your kids, they speak German?
Nope.
No, not German. What does your husband do?
He's
now?
Retired, and he's a civilian now. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Works in the Space Force.
Okay, right on. At Peterson or Schriever? Peterson.
Yeah.
Okay. I might have bumped into him.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's how you got started, and then you guys came back here. How did you end up? Maybe I missed it. How did you end up in Colorado Springs?
So we were in Germany for 17 years, which is unheard
wow.
of. Yeah, it's unheard of.
Wow, that's like the entire career.
Yeah. So
and you only knew a little bit of German?
I can speak kindergarten German. But all of our German friends, they have to learn English.
Right.
And so they are much more excited to speak English than they are to try to teach somebody like me German.
Gotcha.
So they allowed us to be lazy, I guess, would be the best way to put that.
Wow.
But no, it was my husband retired in 2013 and then came on as a civilian, so we got to stay a little bit longer.
Okay.
And then all things have to come to an end. All good things have to come to an end. So we moved back here in 2019, right before the pandemic.
Oh man, it's 2019. That's when we came. That's when we came here, right? For those of you who can't see, my wife is behind the camera right now. Yeah. Yeah. So wow.
Yeah, we got here in July.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right, very cool. So when did you start the Health and Fitness Expo? Because you have two things going on, right? You have the Griffin.
Yeah, I have my personal training and coaching business,
okay.
And then I also do the.
Now, what's the name of that one?
Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo.
No, not that one.
Oh, Sandi Griffin Fitness.
Okay, say that one more time.
Sandi Griffin Fitness.
Okay, Sandi Griffin Fitness, and then so Sandi Griffin Fitness, that's your own personal training venue, okay, and then. Where do you do the personal training at?
At my house.
At your house?
COVID helped make that happen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we just moved here in July. I wrote a business proposal for the rec center where I live. Mm-hmm. They were super excited. I was the first personal trainer and submitted a business proposal and they're like, this looks great. So got that rocking and rolling by November, had a full schedule of clients. And then I want to say February, like the end of February, we knew things were going to be shutting down March timeframe.
Oh, man.
And then the gyms closed. I mean, for almost, I want to say a year and a half, almost 2 years. Because even when they did open up, they were only taking appointments. And only a certain amount of people could be in the building and everything. So, and I was like, well, I need to train. So I started building my own gym in my basement, and it just turned into a fully equipped private gym, and it's pretty legit, I have to say.
That's
It's
awesome.
really funny to say, tell somebody you have a gym in your basement, and then they walk downstairs and they're like, oh,
it's an actual gym. It's not just a couple of weights.
Yeah. Leg press, Smith machine, cables, all the things, dumbbells, and all the toys.
That's awesome. You don't have to give your opinion on this, but what do you think about that whole COVID stuff? Like the lockdowns and then the mandatory vaccinations and all that stuff.
Yeah. So and my husband and I differ a little bit on this. That was his job in the military. Believe it or not, he was an immunizations and allergy specialist.
Okay.
So in the science of immunizations, we have eradicated diseases. We've eradicated polio. We've eradicated so many diseases because of vaccines. They have saved millions of lives. The COVID vaccine actually wasn't a new vaccine. It's a variation of the flu vaccine.
Yeah.
But do I believe that everyone should have been forced to take it? No, because I don't want anybody telling me what to do with my body. So I took the vaccine, full transparency, because I do believe in the science of it. And I know there's a lot of debate with that. I would never force it on anybody else, nor would I make somebody feel guilty because they didn't. That's their choice. That's their body.
I love that answer.
So
that's great. I
that's
view awesome.
A lot of things like that.
Yeah.
What's good for me may not be good for everyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
But so I do believe vaccines save lives. However, there were a lot of unknowns, and a lot of people did have complications with them.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we lost millions of people to this virus.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy answer, but that's the best answer I can give.
No, yeah, I love it. I personally did not take it, and I was in the service at the time. I filed a religious exemption. Truth be told, you don't actually have to have a religion. You just have to have a belief to file an exemption. And that the exemption is supposed to go all the way up to the Surgeon General. So I knew it was going to take a long time to get all the way up there and then back down. So it was a tactic to it was a
Delay.
to delay
Stall.
before I had to tell my commander, like, okay, yeah, you can kick me out or whatever. But then they stopped forcing it. So so good stuff. Okay, so you have your personal training venue. And you're in your you got it in your basement. It's like fully kitted out. That's awesome. And then you decide to do the hunt and fish. Oh my gosh, health and you can see my
Hunt and
my
fish
head
or
is.
health and fish. I mean, it's kind of the same.
Well, I mean, look, when you go hunting in September, right? When you go hunting, I mean, you're climbing those mountains. That is. You're gonna feel it, especially up at elevation. So we can get into that later. But anyway, so then you get you start this Health and Fitness Expo. So tell us how that starts.
It started actually 3 days after Governor Polis lifted the restriction that you had to count people in and out of buildings based on square footage. And it was right at the tail end of COVID. We knew things were going to be opening up. Everybody was just antsy to do something, get back in the gyms, meet, talk to people and do social things. So kind of on a whim, like, let's see if we can get some health and fitness businesses and get people like back on track. Because a lot of people gained a ton of weight during COVID, staying at home and eating the snacks and watching the Netflix and doing the things,
Yep.
And so we thought, let's just have a really great kickoff for this. So I believe it was May, sometime around there, 2021. And the rec center just donated the space. So we just sold tables really cheap, just enough to print off some posters and have some things to give away.
Yeah.
And I think we had 33 businesses that year, huge turnout from the community. And the very next year we did it again and outgrew the space.
Yeah.
Not enough parking, had a waiting list of vendors, and Wi-Fi was a disaster because they didn't have the Wi-Fi in order to, for that many businesses and things like that. It was still great. It's just like we need to either scale it back or we need to take a step and push forward and go big. So
yeah. So you started in 2021, and how many have you ran since then?
So 2021, 22, 23, and this will be our fourth.
So you've ran it every year. I just want to clarify because you and I met. I think you booked me for a coaching session, and we went out and had a good time on the range. It was great, and then you invited me to this one, which and we're gonna come and we're gonna be there. And it's not really health and fitness, but when we're talking about firearms training, we're also talking about the mental aspect of it, especially when people are apprehensive about it. And then what are you going to do before, during, and after a self-defense incident? So we'll be there.
Yeah, and we look at that as is still in the health and fitness and wellness realm. Your personal safety is part of your emotional health.
Yep.
And your physical health.
Yeah.
And knowing how to protect your physical self and being confident in that is definitely ties in with health and wellness.
Are you guys going to have any like first aid booths there, like stopping the bleed and stuff like that?
Actually, no, not that I don't have so far. We have CPR training, and we have Narcan workshops.
Okay.
But no, I don't have anybody doing first aid.
Yeah. So I mean, if you guys are watching this, if somebody's wanting to get in there, but you guys are sold out, aren't you?
Almost. So
almost sold out.
We sold out. We sold out
Okay.
of the booth spaces that we had originally planned
Okay.
for. Those all sold out. And then our blood drive canceled. And so we were able to utilize 2 large spaces that we originally didn't think we had. It was going to be reserved for the blood drive, but they canceled because they can't staff on the weekends. So we're doing a different kind of blood drive. We're still doing a blood drive. It's just going to look different. But we've opened up, I want to say 28 they're smaller tables. They're only 6-foot tables, but 28 more spaces. However, we're already, I think, down to our last 10 or 11.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to sell out again.
Well, you heard it. It's like if you want to get a booth at the Health and Fitness Expo, there's about 10 left, right? So, and then for first aid, so stop the bleed, stuff like that directly correlates to being healthy. If you find somebody that had a wreck or something of that nature, you can help them, okay? But you got to know how to do it.
And all of that ties into what we're doing. Our mission for this expo is to save lives.
Yep. Perfect.
The whole we are a purpose-driven business, so 100% of all of our admission proceeds from all of our ticket sales get donated to Pikes Peak suicide prevention. So we're saving lives that way. We're saving lives through the blood drive. Anybody that donates blood at Vitalant between now and the expo on August 23rd, they'll get a free admission ticket.
Oh, cool!
Because they saved a life with their donation. And if you're
where do they have to do it?
Vitalant.
Okay.
Either a mobile blood drive,
right,
or their fixed location off of Academy.
We just had them at Sock North.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just had a blood drive. I can't remember I can't remember exactly what the purpose was, but we just had them at Sock North. So
awesome.
There's probably a lot of Sock North personnel that just gave blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make sure you get some tickets.
I'll reach out to the Sergeant's Major there, and I'll get some names.
So
and see if
we're just about saving lives. So whether you take a CPR class and learn how to save a life, if somebody goes into cardiac arrest, or if you know how to stop a bleed, somebody's in a car accident and bleeding out, you can help save that. We're all about saving lives.
Nice. That's very cool.
The main focus of this expo. So
I got some questions here, and I'm not sure if we had these answered already. We're just kind of chit chatting.
Yeah.
So did we answer? What inspired you to create the Colorado Springs Health and Fitness Expo, and how has it evolved since the inaugural event in 2021 or 2023?
Yeah. So 2021 and 2 were kind of smaller. So I count those, but when you go big, it's a lot. There's a lot more involved. So 2023 is what I consider the actual first.
Got you.
Expo.
Okay, understood.
But the reason this all came to be was part of my work at Launchstool with the team of physicians that I worked with.
Yeah.
But also, and you're probably all too aware of this, that as a military family, we lose so many men and women to suicide.
Yep. I think the mantra there is 22 a day, but it might even be higher. I haven't looked at it in quite some time.
Yeah.
But 22 a day, I think, especially in this community, we know what that is.
Yeah. And that's just it's unacceptable. And so my husband and I, with all the friends we've known through his 22 years of service and then civilian service afterwards, we've lost count how many friends we've lost. And then 2 of our children attempted suicide just from adolescent things or a crisis moment. And thank God they did not succeed. But I don't want anybody to ever, as a mother or as a parent or as a friend or as a spouse, to have to go through that.
You mind if we get into that a little bit?
Sure.
Like how okay, so 2 of your children attempted, how?
So our one of our children had severe adolescent things going on, depression, and ended up being over medicated.
Okay.
With drugs, and we were doing the best we can. You don't know what you don't know, and you're stepping into this territory trying to save your child's life. And at one point, one of the counselors even told us, "You're going to lose your child. There's nothing we can do."
Really?
She wrote our son off.
Really?
She just wrote him off. And so we were treating it as if it were cancer. Like, there's nothing we can do. We're doing all that we can, but unless we find a cure, we're not going to fix this, and we're going to lose our son.
Was that a VA counselor? Or?
No, we were in Germany.
Okay.
It was TRICARE. A TRICARE, whatever the.
So was the counselor German or American?
American, but residing in Germany.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
But I think all they know is this linear thing. And we know so much more about mental health. And this is back in 2000, started in probably 2011 through 2016, 15. So, this is many years ago, and we know a lot. We know so much more. But they were just, I think, just unwilling, or they just kind of threw their hands up and didn't know. So our son ended up, thank God he grabbed the bottle of ibuprofen and not the bottle of Tylenol, because we would be telling a different story.
Oh, wow.
But he ended up in the ER, and luckily ibuprofen just causes some stomach upset for a little while. Tylenol would have been a 3-day death. That's not you can't save a person once they've overdosed on Tylenol.
Wow.
So.
Okay. And your other child?
Other child got into a crisis moment, relationship thing, and went to try to repair the relationship, and that person wouldn't talk to him. So his plan was to jump off the roof of the hotel that he was staying in. And luckily he called us and hyperventilated and passed out before he could follow that through. And we were able to get emergency services to the hotel.
Before any of those either attempt, were there warning signs before that, or yeah?
With the first son, yeah, I mean, this has been years of inpatient therapy and medication and counselors and doctors, and we were trying everything that we knew how to do. And the over medication, I think, was the straw that broke the camel's back. But there were suicidal ideations prior to that.
Gotcha.
And then our other son, no, we had no idea. It was a lot of people get into a crisis moment. Let's say you lose your job unexpectedly, and then you don't want to go home and tell your spouse that, hey, I'm unemployed and I don't know how we're going to make ends meet. And at that moment, you think the only answer is I just gotta end it.
Right.
And if you can get past that crisis moment and realize that there's some other options here, there's people that care about you, it's not the end of the world. It's just getting people past that crisis moment.
Yeah.
But having open conversations is probably one of the best things you can do. And you can ask somebody, are you thinking about taking your life by suicide? Are you, and be direct. Don't beat around the bush. Don't ask, are you going to hurt yourself? No, ask, are you in that spot where you want to die by suicide? Because it's really important to have those very blunt conversations so that you can get them the help. And if not, then that's great. Then you know that you're not in a crisis moment, but they still may need some help.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine call me up. I might get emotional.
It's okay.
But he called me up, and he is having problems with his family, his wife, and he's retired. And the VA likes to medicate. They like to medicate a lot. So he had a lot of medications, and he's like, dude, I'm thinking about, offing myself, like going out to the woods and doing it. And, I didn't ask him. He felt comfortable to confide into me. And I've always been of the belief that suicide is the single most selfish act you could do, because you're going to be leaving a lot of people in pain. So he's still alive now. I'm getting emotional because my approach to that was exactly what I just said. Hey, look, do you realize people love you? And if you leave this world unexpectedly of your own doing, there's going to be questions that can't be answered. And today I think he's gotten through that family crisis, and I think he's divorced now. That was part of the problem. So I think he's divorced now, and I think he's seeing I see better pictures on Facebook. It's not so depressing.
And it takes a person to show their love and concern and just be there. And so we don't have to have the answers. We just need to be there.
Yeah, exactly. I like the way you said that. It's good. Let's move on to the next question.
Well, and before one of the things that we're doing at the expo, just like 911 is a nationwide, everyone knows it from 2 years old to 92 years old.
Right.
You can call in any emergency. 988 is the mental health crisis line.
988.
And one of the co-founders of that, starting this movement with the 988 number, will be at the expo, and we will hand out, every person that attends the expo will leave with a toolkit with cards, with magnets, with information on what to do. And it's not a crisis hotline, it's a mental health hotline. So if you are, maybe you're just having some anxiety and you need somebody to talk to, it doesn't have to be a life or death situation to call the number.
Gotcha.
As a family member, you can call the number and say, hey, I'm really worried about my friend, or I'm really worried about my child. And I don't know where to turn. I don't know what resources to go after. And somebody, a human being, will actually be on the phone to talk to you and get you to that help that
That's
you need.
great. That's perfect.
And that's for anybody. Even DOD overseas, there is a 988 number that they can call from a DOD line.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's great. All right. So how do you ensure the event focuses on holistic health and wellness rather than just fitness trends? There's all kinds of fitness trends out there. Yeah, so let's elaborate on that.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to do is dispel myths. Like one of my favorite is, I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to lift heavy because I don't want to get bulky. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we're still having this conversation. So we really want to provide science-based, like real, true information on anything. And also understanding that health and wellness and fitness is not a one-size-fits-all.
Yep.
It's like having a handgun.
Yep.
Everybody's got their preference. Everybody's hand's different. Finger lengths, grip, everything, what you want in the gun and everything else. Same thing with fitness.
Yep.
I've never done Pilates. I can't say I don't enjoy it because I've never done it, but I love lifting heavy weight.
Yeah.
But that's not for everybody. And I love getting a massage. I've never tried some of the other holistic type practices.
Like you talking about like acupuncture?
Yeah, acupuncture. There's
stuff,
there's Reiki massage, there's sound bath therapy. There's so many other modalities for our physical and mental well-being that just because I haven't tried them doesn't mean that they don't help people. And so we want to make sure that there's a huge representation across the holistic space all the way to the pickleball and everything in between, so that even if you're just curious and maybe you want to try something out, there's no harm, no foul. There's no like investing hundreds of dollars to go try it out. You can have a conversation, you can talk, you can try and do those things. So
where do we leave off?
Like fitness isn't a one size fits all.
Oh yeah.
And we have all the different things for everybody.
Yeah. So
we want to make sure that there's a representation for everyone. Senior fitness is very different from 30-year-old fitness.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that there's different businesses throughout the Colorado Springs, Southern Denver area that focus on different populations. We have special populations. We have neurodivergent individuals. We have persons that need adaptive type fitness.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that we have representation for all that. On the flip side of that, some of the fitness trends need to be talked about. And I wouldn't call it a fitness trend, but part of the wellness trend, I guess, is GLP-1 medications. That's a huge, everybody wants that Ozempic shot to lose their 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And it can be a really great medication if used properly. Unfortunately, so many people don't know how to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
And they just let physicians prescribe, and they end up losing so much lean muscle mass and bone mass that they end up destroying their health, even though the scale is the number that they want to see. Now their health is in jeopardy because they have no lean muscle mass to maintain that metabolism, and they've lost all their bone mass and are now in an osteopenia situation, leading into osteoporosis.
What's the osteopenia? What is
that's
that?
the precursor to osteoporosis.
Okay.
So it's where your bone density gets weak and you're more at risk of like breaking bones and things like that.
Okay.
And that takes years to get back. What people don't understand is if this medication isn't used properly, if you don't know what questions to ask, if your physician's not keeping up with your calories and making sure you're getting enough protein and making sure you're doing all these things, and if you don't know what questions to ask, they may not be looking at these things for you. And then you've lost 50 pounds, but now you're devastating your health in other ways. And it takes 5 months to lose that bone mass and lean muscle mass. It's going to take you years to get that back.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure that we're going to have a panel of experts that are going to be talking about these medications, what to do to make sure you're staying healthy, what questions to ask your physician so you can be an advocate for your health.
That's great. I don't know if you had watched my interview with Chris from Revolutionary Telehealth.
I haven't.
Yeah, watch that.
I will.
Yeah. So for the rest of you, look at the link above. This directly ties to that. So Chris's organization, which is I think it's in full mode. I think Monday. Basically, it's geared towards special operations, military, law enforcement, that kind of genre, and where somebody can call in and they get professional guidance and help, and they'll figure out a pathway. So yeah,
awesome.
I don't want to put words in his mouth. So just watch that video.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, and I need to link you guys up because it sounds like you guys might be able to be mutually benefiting.
Yeah, no, I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, perfect. Let me get back to this question here. Okay. Are you done with that question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I wanted to because when you started talking about Ozempic and not getting the right counseling and all that stuff, it just reminded me of our conversation. I think it was last week. So we talked about this a little bit. But what's your relationship with Vitalant?
So I used to donate blood all the time. I don't have special blood. It's just A positive.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty the most boring
we're
blood
good
on
then.
the planet.
We're good. I'm A positive.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So when I went in to donate, when we lived in Germany, after so many years, they won't let you donate anymore because of mad cow. Well, they just lifted that ban last year. And so I have, for 20 years, haven't been able to donate pretty much, and then just found out I could. So I went in, and they're like, actually, we don't need whole blood because we need more of the special blood types for that. But platelets is something we're always in need of. And platelets are used for cancer patients going through chemotherapy and things like that. So I can donate every 2 weeks. I can donate platelets every 2 weeks because it replenishes much faster than your whole blood does. So I made a commitment this year to donate 15 times through the year.
Yeah.
Part of that was just I don't want to just talk the talk about saving lives and doing all this mental health work and saving lives through blood donations and suicide awareness. I want to walk the walk.
Right.
And so this was a way for me to actually walk the walk and donate and save lives myself. So, and if I'm going to ask other people to do that, I need to be an example first. So that's where the blood drive, we did that in 2023 as well. But during the summertime, they get critical shortage because people are on vacation. They don't think about it. They've got a lot of other things going on. And we need to make sure that we have enough blood for people. So we're going to give away free tickets to anyone that donates between now and August.
Nice. That's great. You're what kind of music do you like?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything but country. I'm not a huge country fan.
Do you know the band Megadeth, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a fan?
Yeah, I'll listen to it.
All right. So Dave Mustaine, he had throat cancer in 2019, and he was just on the Sean Ryan show talking about basically his life, kind of like what we're doing here. And when you mentioned the platelets that help with the cancer patients, it kind of made me think about that because I just watched that interview. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's amazing how many blood products can be used for so many different things that we don't even think about. But yeah, it's pretty amazing what you can do.
That's awesome.
And how easy it is to save a life.
Yeah. I probably had more medical training without being a medical professional than a lot of people. For example, we had to train blood transfusions. That's pretty crazy, right? Try to do a blood transfusion in the middle of a battlefield, let's say, or in an austere environment. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What role? We talked about this, and we can talk about it some more. But so, what role does mental health play in the expo, and why is it such a key focus for you? And then, we've already answered this question. But if you want to elaborate on that, that'd be good.
that comprehensive program, I had no idea what being a personal trainer actually meant. I seriously thought I was going to design workout programs, teach people how to do a couple exercises. They would see me a few times and then they'd be on their way doing their workouts, living their best life.
Right.
I had no idea that I would be a counselor. I had no idea the holes that people are trying to fill in their life, and how they got there. And this is what I came to understand very quickly as a coach. Everyone has a story.
Yep.
And most people, unless you're an exception to the rule, which I would be really surprised, most people endure a significant trauma at some point in their life. And that can be an emotional or a physical or both. So I look at the population I worked with. I worked with a lot of veterans, active duty members. And, getting blown up when you're deployed that's an emotional and a physical trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that full well.
And I know I'm preaching to the choir. I also worked with spouses that had been, one of the ladies I worked with remembers at 6 years old waking up. Her stepdad had drugged her and her brother and taken them across the border in Mexico and sexually trafficked them.
Oh my gosh.
And so unless you understand, and in looking at these people, you would never know. You would absolutely never know that they have overcome such horrible things in their life. They're just amazing human beings, and they're kind, and they're beautiful, and they're generous, and they're smart. They're all the things that, like, what do you mean
would want
you went
somebody
through that?
to be, yeah.
But because of that, food typically is a drug. We typically, or alcohol. You cover up that pain, you bury it, you cover it up, and you keep it covered up because you don't want to rip that Band-Aid back off that wound. And unless you understand how a person got to where they're at, whether it was a car accident and they're scared because they've been in pain for years and trying to lift something heavy freaks them out. If I didn't understand what they had been through, then I wouldn't have the patience and know how to maybe take it down a couple notches and work them up to that to where they're comfortable. If food is the issue, like we comfort ourselves by eating, because that's that dopamine response. Right. If I didn't understand that somebody was sexually molested as a child and they eat like this because of that pain, then how am I supposed to help them look at nutrition in a totally different way? Yeah. And so with mental health, it's more than just the suicide, but it's all these other things that we carry with us from usually childhood or somewhere in our young adult life. And if we can have the compassion and take the time to have a conversation, establish a relationship and trust, and really get to know somebody as much as they are willing to allow us to get to know them, then we can truly help them. But if you're just trying to sell somebody a product or service and you don't understand their need, you can't help them. Yeah. No, I think that's true. That's true for a lot of things. I mean, even in my genre, teaching somebody firearms. How many people are terrified of weapons, we talked about this a little bit. When you're terrified of something, your palms get sweaty and all these other things. I just had a mother and her son on the range, and this is the first time they've shot, and like her palms were sweaty, and then I mentioned my customer's name. I know they don't mind. Lorena. Lorena was a customer of mine, and man, she was really bad. Like but now she's great with it, and then she's bought 3 firearms since then. So like, understanding somebody's apprehension or fear, especially when it comes to a traumatized thing, and we've mentioned a couple here, the physical, sexual, emotional kind of traumas. But you are that person that is willing to take a step back and meet people where they're at. Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we need is more people like you, that are willing to just listen, take a step back, and let me meet you where you're at. This is where you're at right now, then let's just start here. And we're not going to try to get you here yet. We're just going to start here. And that can change someone's world. Yeah. That can change someone's world. I think so. And not to get on firearms instruction or anything like that, but because this is about you, but no, some people are just
there's definitely afraid of the firearm. They won't even step foot on the range because they're so afraid of it. So trying to break that chain with a lot of things, especially in your field, trying to break that chain of somebody lifting 200 pounds instead of 150 pounds, let's say, that's pretty important to understand the person's needs, wants, and desires. Yeah.
Well, and then helping them understand a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, and this is very stereotypical, but it tends to be, of 20 years of doing this, I see women come in and they want to head straight for the 5 and 10 pound dumbbells. And I'm like, wait, before you pick that up. The first question I ask them is, when you carry in groceries from your car, your big shopping trip, do you carry in one bag at a time? And they look at me like, no.
Of course I don't.
I carry as many as I can. And I'm like, and how much do you think you're carrying in each arm as you're curling those bags into the kitchen? Why in the world are you going to pick up a 5-pound dumbbell? But we don't think about the different perspective. You
need to talk to my wife.
But it's the same thing and this equates to anything, just perspective in firearms.
That's true.
When you have the confidence and you understand it, then it changes your perspective and allows you to take a step into another realm that you didn't think was possible.
That's oh man, that is so true. I didn't even think about the whole bag thing. That's awesome, because my wife would go in the YMCA. We got a membership up here. She'll go in there and she'll basically do the same thing over and over. I'm like, and then I have shown her some stuff. She's willing to do new things. Like I showed her how to do a deadlift, all these things.
Yeah.
So she's willing, but it's kind of like you gotta push a little bit.
You have to trust somebody. Yeah. And unfortunately, and I'll tell you this because my husband still teases me about it. He would tell me things for years and I wouldn't listen to him. As soon as I got a coach and the coach told me the same thing, I'm like, guess what Bobby said? Bobby told me this.
Yeah.
Alex told me this, whatever my coach was at the time. And he's like, I've been telling you that for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to listen to him. I'll listen to somebody else. So.
Yeah. I've gotten a couple customers that way because they understand that they don't listen to each other when it comes to. So that's pretty good. So the next question, let's see. How are you working with local businesses in the community to make this year's event more impactful? And I was going to add on to that.
Yeah.
Who's your sponsors?
We've actually we had an overwhelming response, and we just got another sponsor today.
I noticed on the website.
Yeah.
What is it? Health and Fitness Expo.com. Is that correct?
COSFitnessexpo.com.
Okay, and
is the website.
I'll put that in the. Oh, my son's here. I'll put that in the link. I'll put a link in the description box below. But check them out. They got a ton of sponsors. It's great.
Yeah. So some of them are sponsors in kind, meaning they didn't financially sponsor, but they're sponsoring us in other ways, such as pickleball courts, Colorado Sports Social. Hi.
You get to see my son again. Danny, I'm doing an interview.
Come on, I just brought up a...
Satoru.
You just got a book?
Let's go look at it downstairs. Come on.
I love you, buddy.
You go downstairs. I'm going to read my book.
Hey, for those of you who didn't see, he just tried to shut the door on my wife so he could stay in here. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
That's all right.
Let's see what we can do.
So we have some sponsors in kind. Bubs Naturals is providing, and that's a veteran. I don't know if it's a veteran-owned business, but it is started after a veteran.
Okay.
Great story. And they're donating some products for our VIP swag bags. We've got Colorado Sports Social donating 3 outdoor pickleball courts to set up so we can play pickleball.
Oh, that's great.
Our presenting sponsor is Peak Pickleball. They have Peak 23 indoor courts. It is the largest privately owned facility in the world, I think, right now.
Can you explain pickleball to me? I don't know.
I can't. But come to the expo because they're going to do a great job. I've never played. I've not yet played, but it looks really fun. I think it's a combination of tennis and racquetball, but with a wiffle ball and a paddle.
Okay.
For ping pong, I don't know.
Oh,
it looks
man.
really fun.
Oh,
it looks really fun.
I'm going to have to try it when I'm out there.
But yeah, Integrity Bank is our official bank. We have some private sponsors that just really saw the vision behind what we're doing and just wanted to support what we're doing. We've got some mental health organizations that are sponsoring us. So we just had an overwhelming community response.
That's beautiful. That's great. I'm glad I'm a part of it.
I am too.
I'm glad that I'm going to be a part of it. That's going to be great. I haven't applied to be I guess a sidebar speaker. Yeah, I haven't applied yet. I've been meaning to. I've just been busy. So
yeah.
So I will apply soon. You guys still got room?
Oh yeah.
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 So if you want to be a speaker there, then you can also apply for that.
We're going to have all kinds of workshops.
Yeah.
One of the really intriguing workshops we're going to have is psychedelic therapy.
Nice.
And that really ties in with mental health. There's been so much studies on that. The VA is doing some studies on that. Colorado, it's decriminalized, which means you can use it and you can possess it and use it. You just can't sell it. But there are places you can get it from. You can grow your own mushrooms and things like that. So and that's one of those things that people hear psychedelics and they're like,
Well, so...
But we want to educate and what it means, what it looks like, how it's used, and the benefits of it so that people have just a better understanding and can make an informed decision.
Yeah, so this is wild, right? Because I literally just got done listening to that Sean Ryan show with Dave Mustaine, and Sean Ryan specifically, he's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he talks about this journey. I think he went down to South America somewhere, and there was some kind of psychedelic thing, and he said it's like a 12-hour ride, and they have I think they do the ride on the ride, right? So you take the psychedelic and it lasts for 12 hours, and then the next day is like gray day, which you have like this super awful hangover, I guess, and the next day you do. You literally smoke poison from a frog, and I was like, "What in the world is he talking about?" And then he said it kind of opens for years of abuse of, like, let's say, cocaine or heroin or something like that. You've damaged your receptors, and then now this psychedelic kind of like replaces it or does something. I don't know all that stuff.
It reestablishes your neural pathways.
Okay.
So the first what did you call it? Ride?
Yeah, you're right. You're taking a 12-hour ride.
Yeah, it's called ibogaine.
Okay.
And people are like heroin and fentanyl and like all these like hardcore addictions from one day to the next are not addicted.
Yeah.
And severe like suicidal PTSD. From one day to the next, they can see light at the end of the tunnel and feel like they have a purpose and a journey to move forward.
Gotcha.
The second piece of that is usually 5-MeO DMT, which is
I think that's what the thing.
ayahuasca.
Those are probably what he.
So
he
ibogaine
said.
just gets you really real, with yourself and with everything. But it's not in how would you describe it? It's like taking the Band-Aid off, but having the first aid kit given to you at the same time. So you're going to have to face some of the things, your addiction or your trauma, but along with that, there's a comfort that comes with it. So it's not just raw. I've not experienced it myself, but from a very, very dear friend of mine, it saved her life. It turned her completely. She was going to be a statistic.
She did it here? In the States?
No, South America.
South America.
Yep. And actually it was run by former Special Forces veterans.
Yeah, so it's probably the same.
It's all safe,
venue. And then, so it's just wild because I had heard about it before and I was like, what? You're going to go down to South America and do some drugs? Okay, whatever, dude. Right? And I kind of wrote it off. And then it came up again. And then it came up again. And then I listened to this Sean Ryan show, which was the first show that I ever watched completely or listened to completely. And then now we're talking about it, right? It's pretty wild.
It's plant medicine.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that gets lost is people, when they hear psychedelics, they think of the 70s. They think of like LSD trips and stuff like that.
Right.
What they don't understand is this medicine has been around in cultures and civilization for millennia. 2,000 years, whatever. And there is so much benefit and good to it. and gets people off all these drugs. I look at my son who was over medicated and that could have potentially caused his suicide attempt.
Yeah.
Had we known about plant medicine, maybe that could have changed his life much sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But it's something
wild.
that you definitely need to be educated. Again, it's not something people
Not
should
something
just
you
jump
go
into.
do. Yeah.
Like, you want to make sure you're with a reputable, safe, you're prepared. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's part of this education. We want to let people know what's out there so they can pursue what they feel is best for themselves, their family, their health, their bodies. Again, not pushing anything on anybody, but just offering the different avenues that they could seek.
So, yeah, and you bring up a good point, like finding a reputable venue, I guess would be the right term. Okay, so how do we find that reputable venue, right?
Research.
Because that's that's the thing, is like trying to find the reputable venue or person or whatever, right? Because there's going to be a lot of copycats out there that's saying, "Oh, I can do this," right?
Yeah.
And but that brings me to here in the States. You talked about, there's avenues where you can grow your own, but you can't sell it, and then you can use it. But I've always been like of the belief that if it grows, it was here for a reason.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Ibuprofen, I mean, that's great for helping my headaches, right? But at the end of the day, it's people putting some stuff together.
Right,
and
it's chemistry.
Here you go, right?
Yeah.
But like, a shroom, let's say, or this poison dart frog down in South America or whatever, like that. It was here for a reason. It's just we had to figure that, we as a human species had to figure out what that reason was. So, pot, for example, like I don't even know. It's like Cat Williams said, it just grows like that,
Yeah.
It just grows, and so pretty wild. So
Yeah.
here in the States, is there a place or a venue like that? There's nothing here.
I
like
don't know
yet.
that it's legal for that type of use in the
Gotcha.
States. So I do believe, and don't quote me because I haven't done research on facilities.
Gotcha.
One that keeps, I've listened to lots of podcasts. Part of it with my friend's journey, it was so to see, like, our friendship had been severed because of her just destructive behaviors. And I really thought I was going to lose my friend. I thought she was going to be a statistic. She's a combat veteran and just an amazing, amazing human being, but she was in a really dark place. And I didn't know how to help, and it was getting really bad.
Gotcha.
But to go from that to, I can't wait to see her. She's going to be here in a few weeks, and I can't wait to see her. And her
awesome.
life is just so different. And to listen to her share her journey is just outstanding.
You think she'd be willing to come on the show?
I bet she would.
That'd be awesome. I'd like to
she
talk
would.
to her more about the...
I'll ask her.
I'm kind of interested in
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, and again, full transparency, I have tried mushrooms and I have tried DMT, and
Right.
they're both amazing. And I don't feel like I'm working through any traumas. I feel like I have managed that through my adult years and
Gotcha.
done the work on my own. But I can say it greatly enhanced my life.
Yeah.
I'm a type A, like keep burning the candle at both ends and got to keep going and do all the things.
Yeah.
And in my, younger years, I was a people pleaser and everything. So I do let that self-doubt and that imposter syndrome kind of creep in every once in a while. And I will say that doing psilocybin, on occasion just really helps quiet those intrusive thoughts and puts me in a very positive space and allows my brain to no, we don't need to do that. We don't need to listen to those voices. We need to stay right here on this really great path that we're on.
Gotcha.
And it just kind of lets your brain rewire to where it's supposed to be in that very positive space.
Wow.
And it's not, because I'm not a big drinker. I love my red wine. Don't get me wrong, but you will never see me intoxicated. That's not where I like to be. I don't do any other drugs. I don't like being incapacitated like that. And this is different. It's very different. but yeah, I see the benefits. I've experienced some of the benefits, not to the degree my friend has or other people have, but I'm learning. I want to learn more and I want to study it more. But as far as places to go, one of the podcasts that I listen to, it's a facility called Beyond.
Beyond? Okay.
And they're, from what I understand, incredibly reputable, fully trained medical staff to make sure that you are physically, safe while you're going through your journey and everything. So, but they're one of the facilities. I'm sure there are many others, but yeah.
Beyond. Do you know where they're based out of?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I just started listening to the podcast actually.
Oh, yeah, right on.
So.
All right.
That went
I'm like
whole
really,
different direction.
I'm really like thinking of, because like I said, like I heard about it and I wrote it off, and then it just steps and it's like, what in the world? Like, is this something I should be like really looking into, doing my research? It's pretty interesting, to say the least. Okay, so what challenges have you faced in the organization or organizing such a large event? And how have you overcome those challenges?
Well, you're an entrepreneur. You get it. You just gotta.
I don't have a big event like you got, right? But there's definitely challenges to the game.
Yeah, you got to take a leap of faith. The challenge, like I described from 22, it was either go big or scale it back and keep it small. And I knew I had to go big. I knew I had to go big, but. I was new to the community, so nobody knew who I was. I didn't have a reputation. I didn't have a trust built with anybody. And this event was brand new. So everybody's like, who are you and what are you doing? So no sponsors the first year. So I funded it. My husband and I cashed out an investment and I funded the event.
Wow.
And knowing that I'm going to make this successful. And so last year was a huge hit. It was a great success. Obviously this year we've got sponsors and everything. We're not going to probably, if we do end up in profit, it's going to be very, very little. So breaking even this year. Next year, we're going to move this into our peak. Pickleball is our presenting sponsor. They've already, we want to host you next year. We're going to make this huge.
Awesome.
So we're already planning the 2026 event. And it will be a 2 to 3 day event and twice as big.
That's awesome. That's great.
But yeah, it's hard when you're new to the community. You've got a brand new event to, one, make the connections, to get people behind your vision and your mission that you're after. And a lot of people like, oh yeah, we'll support you. And then come time to support, where is everybody? Yeah. But it takes time to build. You have to be patient. You have to take some risks. It's going to hurt a little bit. Yeah. But this year I think we're going to make our mark. So
yeah, you get that in the friend community. They're like, oh yeah, I'll share all your links, and like nobody shares it. Right. Wait, I thought you said
I was sharing your workouts. I was sharing your workouts.
Right. You know what I mean? But people get busy. They get busy with their family, with their work, with the things that they're doing. So I get it. Yeah. But it is hard to get out there, especially when there's, in my field, there's so much competition, and I'm going to have Mark Fitzwater on as well.
I know you guys are the best, because I've trained with both of you, and you guys are awesome. Well,
we're cut from the same cloth, so to speak. So, although I am the better instructor, just got to put that out there. I love you, Mark. All right, let's go to the next one here. How do you see the expo growing in the future? You just talked about that. Yeah. And what's next for the impact on the Colorado Springs community? I guess the better question would be, what achievement would you like to get to say, okay, the expo is it's like the huge success, and anything after that is like icing on the cake. You know what I mean? Is there a criteria? Is like how many people or how many sponsors or anything like that? Is there something?
I want somebody to come back
achieve?
And said, because of what you shared, because of that speaker, because of that 988 information, because of this, because of somebody donated blood, you saved my life, you saved my child's life, you saved my spouse's life. That is ultimate success.
That's a great goal.
Nothing else matters. if it doesn't matter how many people we have, it doesn't matter how many sponsors we have, if we're not actively saving lives and can change those statistics, this event means nothing.
Man, that's deep. That's deep. That's deep, right? Because it shows that you actually care, right? And that's great. I think we're on the same pathway, right? Because I'm not making a lot of money from what I'm doing, but
You love
when
helping people.
when I see somebody like, when I see the smile in their face, and then they're like, "Oh, this is great," you know what I mean? That helps me out to keep going. So that's great.
And you're saving lives too, because you're helping them protect themselves and their family.
Yeah, and it's not only that; it's like the before, the during, and the after. Because I try to coach them into like, okay, if you have a self-defense incident, let's say, the cops are coming, keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
Right? Keep your mouth shut. Get a lawyer and exercise your rights, right?
Yeah.
To the fullest extent that you can. So, Sandi, do you have anything you want to plug into the video? Let's talk. Let's hear your website again. Your two businesses.
Sandi Griffin Fitness is my coaching business. That's my passion. I love helping people discover their strength. I love showing women that you're just as strong as men, pound for pound. Because I can bench my body weight at 51 years old. So can you.
There you go.
I have a private gym, and I specialize in injury prevention and recovery. So anybody that's had an injury or is coming past surgery or whatever, I love helping people discover what they can do, because you're told all the time what you can't do. I want to show you what you can. And then the expo, the website is cosfitnessexpo.com, and tickets are on sale on Eventbrite. If you donate blood, you can get a free ticket. All of our proceeds benefit Pikes Peak suicide prevention. So 100% of those, we don't get a dime from any of our ticket sales. That all goes to suicide prevention here in the city.
Man, that's so great.
Yep.
Well, that's it for this interview. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll probably have Sandi on again in the future. Hopefully we'll have her friend if she's willing to come on the show. That'd be awesome. We'll talk about the psychedelic and her journey. If you know anybody who would like to be on the show, send them our information. We'd love to have them, especially if they're a community leader or a business owner or something like that here in the Colorado Springs area, or even just around. Doesn't have to be particularly Colorado Springs, but somewhere in this community, up and down the Front Range here. But that's it. That's all we got. Tech out.